ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder.
Yes.
And I think that disorder part for me made me feel broken. It made me feel like, well, shit, there's something wrong with me because I have this disorder. So first, I feel like they should rename it, but
Yes, yeah.
I don't feel like it's a disorder, right? I think it wouldn't make sense that everybody's brain would work the same to me, right? If everybody's brain worked the same, then there would be a lot of things that didn't get created, and I think it would be extremely boring.
Yes.
So I think there's a lot of us that have, again, ADHD, but it makes us more creative. It makes us, yeah, maybe more impulsive, but I think there's so much good that comes with that. And I've learned to embrace it. And I think, again, we talk so much about self-love. If you can just love yourself exactly as you are, with all the flaws, if you see that as a flaw, but just you accept it. And you know, I think it's that self-acceptance.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Delulu Magic Podcast, where we delulu our mindset and create the most magical version of our lives. I'm Paola.
And I'm Gabby, and we want to welcome everybody back to join us on our podcast.
Bienvenidos.
Bienvenidos. We just our momager has told us that we must add sazon to the conversation.
Yes.
So lots of chisme and conversation. Today's going to be conversations about ADHD.
Which we both have, if you haven't guessed by now, by how we go back and forth in our conversations.
Not slow, and we could keep up. That's a thing that I didn't realize actually. Beginning with that, like the hyper focus, like obviously I always thought like it was a gift that I could multitask, multi-think, but the hyper focus that I was like, if I want to, I can really get myself where I need.
For sure, on things that we love.
That I care about.
And we can keep up with our conversations, and I bet that's why we've been best friends since we were 14.
And we didn't realize this.
Most people would be like, I'm lost.
How do I keep up with you?
So imagine our business meetings. They're quite fun, quite entertaining, but we definitely have to put an agenda on sometimes.
Yes. Get it. Well, the lists have helped, I think, for that. That now, not knowing that, realizing, I think this has been a big one for me, that it was going to be a combination of a lot of ADHD in the room. Mm-hmm. And then it makes for a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
We spend a lot of time laughing.
Definitely. Our momager also has ADHD, so it is quite entertaining. But we wanted to share the other part, right? So I think we've learned, though, to embrace it.
Yes.
But at first, especially for me, there was a lot of shame that I felt. And I'll tell you guys a story, but did you also feel?
You know what? I did not think that there was anything that, there was no possibility. I remember hearing a few years back about it, but I never really thought it was something that was part of me. I would never have recognized it. Now, as time has passed, I'm like, oh, that's why. Oh, the whatever choices, decisions, things you did was a lot of your ADHD that was never, diagnosed. Obviously, much less even talked about in our culture. That's
especially
even
back then.
more, even now it's more accepted and you hear of it everywhere, right? I feel like all of a sudden it became this thing. I don't know if like during COVID was the big hit, but I started to get more familiarized with it.
Yes.
And so yeah, I didn't realize it, but I always felt like something was wrong with me, and that I just didn't have it in me to like follow through or like, be organized. And those are my biggest ones. Yeah. There's still little things there that I feel that I carry, but I don't feel guilty of them anymore because I'm just like, okay, well, this is how my brain works.
We love ourselves now.
Yes.
With everything. And I actually think it's a superpower now, especially if you know how to utilize it, if you kind of know how to rein it in. And 70 to 80, I found this like crazy, 70 to 80% of women go undiagnosed with ADHD.
Course. Yeah.
I was diagnosed in my early 40s, and I was in denial for a very long time about it.
Yeah.
Even when, I've told you before, but as a child, definitely inattentive. I did not do well in high school. I'm so glad that I've been successful, but and no one ever thought to say, maybe you have ADHD. It was just, oh, you're lazy, you're not a good student. And I think I carried a lot with that. And, graduated. Then I was like, I'm really going to focus, really work hard. And I did. It took me a lot more than some of my other counterparts. And so then as an adult, even feeling like, oh, is it, so people that have ADHD can sometimes be characterized as lazy, unorganized, a little bit aloof, right? Because you're kind of like dreaming, thinking about other things as people maybe might be speaking to you. But there's stuff going on there. You're like strategizing on something really good. And I'm going to get right back to you. Yeah. But when I got diagnosed, it was funny. I was seeing my therapist, and I would talk about a lot of the overwhelm I was feeling. And I would bring in, guys, it was funny because I was already doing sticky notes. Like I would write all my tasks on sticky notes. And I literally one time brought in all the sticky notes that I had crumbled up, because as I got done with each task, it was like really nice to crumble it up. And I was like, look at all the things I'm doing. I'm like, and I'm overwhelmed and I don't know how to get over this. And she was like, have you been, assessed for ADHD? And I was like, no, I don't think I have that.
Well, no.
And continuing 6 months, 9 months later, finally she was like, I really think I don't specialize in that. She's like, but I really think you need to get an assessment done. So finally I listened and I went to go do this and got diagnosed with ADHD. I think it was like probably clear to everybody except me. And I hid it. It was this weird thing I told you, but I didn't want to tell my husband. It was like this weird shame thing about it. And when I finally mentioned it to him, this is what he said. And now he's like, oh, I'm sorry I said that. But he was like, no, there's you don't have that. There's nothing wrong with you.
Yeah.
And I was like, I wanted to be like, well, even if I do have, there's still nothing wrong with me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're not even a doctor. Why are you?
You don't even know.
I didn't tell him, hey, I went to this, or I think I did. I was like, oh, hey, they think I might have this. And I just like sat in that, like, even like, again, that stir of that shame, until I really started reading more books on it. And really, I think it's key to, if you do get diagnosed with ADHD, first, if you're having any of those symptoms, like, it is important to get diagnosed, because there are things that you can do about it, right? Cognitive behavioral therapy. Sometimes I take medication. It depends on the day, especially with admin work. If you find yourself like, where it's really hard to sit down and focus on the administrative tasks, to me, that's a big sign. And once I started diving deeper is when I really started becoming more accepting and working on the self-love and self-compassion. It helped me understand it better, and it helped me see it as, you know what? I have so many other benefits. I'm sure you do too, right? Creative, I can hyper focus, especially if it's something I love.
Yeah.
So now I just choose to do things that I love, like this. And again, being creative, tackling different tasks. So I found a lot of benefits to it. And I think we're all just different. Our brains work different. It'd be boring if we all thought the same way.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that or tell me a little bit about like how, when you were diagnosed and what you felt?
Oh, well, mine was, well, I didn't even think of that, right? But it was with my kids, when my oldest son, when he graduated, he had a hard time in high school and I got called all the things, and I'm going to be very honest, like I was even guilty of it, because my husband I would be like, he's just not disciplined. But he's not, it's just him. He doesn't have the drive. He can't do the things. Why can't he be this X, Y, Z? And then he really started struggling. He had there was other stuff happening. And I remember we went to a psychiatrist. And this was like post-COVID. Like he graduated in 2021. And they did the assessment. And then, I remember this was still like the Zoom appointments. And I got to sit in because he was already 18, but he's like, it's okay. He was never like, try to hide it. We were trying to figure out what was going on. And she was describing to him about how, it usually comes from, like, does one of your parents, one of the family members, do you have history? And he kind of like, so I looked at me and I was like, yeah, I remember like if that was the first click that I was like, me, it's probably for me. And then I started to think of like my dad, and like I right away like went super fast. I was like, oh, this is my side, right? Like, I mean, I wanted always to be like, it's your dad, because that's my big thing. It's always like, that wasn't for me, but no, it was mine. And after that, then I told my husband, and he kind of had not the same reaction, but he kind of was like, are they sure? I mean, isn't that? And I was like, this is a psychiatrist. It wasn't like we just went to the Walgreens and got a test done. It was like a big thing. It was hours, and he had to do a lot of stuff. He's like, okay, well, what do we do now? And I was like, well, this is what he was going to go to college. So it was like, this is what it looks like. You know, he's going to need accommodations. He's going to need, little did we realize now in hindsight, right? It was like his maturity was not where it needed to be. And I pushed him because I was like, you need to keep up and you need to, it's just now that we know this is going to be fixed, right? And it did not. And so anyway, that was like right before he was going to start college. And my youngest at the time was starting 5th grade. And I have so many kids. So it happened to be that like parent teacher conference day came. And again, remember, it was still Zooms. And I was like, my kids, so she was in 5th. So the other ones were like 7th and 8th. God, I can't remember. But it was like a full day. And I was like, I can't do all the conferences. And the school that they were at was like, you need to log in because we need to go over it and then all this stuff. And so I said to him, you got the little one because I need to, the other ones were in middle school. So I was like, I need to pay. I just thought 5th grade, she's fine. Yeah. It's no biggie.
This will be the easy one.
6th grade was going to, yeah, it would be the easy. He just needs to log in. It's like art class and I don't know what. So he, like, we have our conferences, whatever the day finishes, and he comes and he's like, her teacher, her art teacher thinks that we should get her assessed. And I said, for what? And he's like, ADHD. You know, I explained what's going on. He was talking about her and like her focus and all these things. And I just said, hey, her brother, the teacher asked him, is there any possibility? And he's like, you know what? And he was so open to it. He said, you know, my son just got diagnosed. Maybe she needs to get assessed as well. So I was very grateful that moment because I remember I was like, okay, he's now understanding there's something, you know. And so then we go, and when they're little like that, you go, there's like, I took her to like a neurobehaviorist specialist to get assessed, and they did this thing. And I would have never thought, like, my little girl, and I can say this, right? Like, it would never cross my head that there was this going on in her brain. So we go to this place, and the way they work, it's like, you know, they do the assessment, you fill it in, and they talk to them a little, and then they're like, okay, we're going to put this like stuff kind of to your brain, and then you're going to be watching a computer. And then I'm like through a glass window, and I can see her, you know, the whole time she can see me, and she's kind of waving at me. And so then I'm outside, and then she finishes, we go sit with the psychiatrist, and then they bring out the papers. And this is what got me, because she's got these papers and she's showing me, and she's like, so this is how her brain activity is and all that. My daughter never moved. Her little hand was on like the little mouse, and that thing was just all over like the chart. I was like, wow. And so she was like, so she's got like hyper attentive, because there's a couple of different, like, I mean, it is a spectrum, but there's different forms of it, right? So I was like, oh my gosh, I was expecting her to have been the kid that had been bouncing off the walls, screaming, you know, disrupting things. And she was not. She was quiet, but she just, so tying that into my oldest son, I remember in 2nd grade, they've always been in private school, but I remember, because that's when his sister was born. No, there was kind of something like that. But we had the baby, and there was 3 of them already. And I remember his backpack was always full with all his homework crumbled down at the bottom. And I remember like pulling it out and being like, but you did it. He's like, I just kept forgetting to turn it in. Yeah. And then middle school came in, like assignments, like it were always like in his closet. And I was always like, why can't you just turn it in? Like, why can't? So then she comes along, and I remember starting to see like all the things, like, you know, especially like in the room, like, you know, not being organized, being late. And then for her, she has a lot of the RSD, I think it's like rejection sensitivity disorder, which it's like it's a part of ADHD as well. It's like she's very, like, she's my child that my tone of voice has to be very specific with her, because she will feel rejected. She's already very more sensitive. And I didn't know either. Like, I got taught all that. So again, this psychiatrist is like, you know, it's usually in the family. And I was like, yeah, her brother. And she's like, well, usually from a parent. And all of that was like clicking in my head at the time. And I was like, okay, maybe I need to get this figured out for myself, because at the time I was starting to do a lot more work. And it was I was just overwhelmed. You remember, I mean, still feel overwhelmed all the time, but it's manageable now. I have tools. But I just, when I went to get assessed, they're like, oh, yeah, 100%. There was no surprise. And then when I go to tell my husband, so here comes lucky 3 for me, and he's like, yeah, I've always known that. Like, it was not even like a surprised. He's like, you, I mean, just, you
He's
know.
like, you and your best friend,
He's
y'all.
like, you're all over. And then he kind of, you know, it's funny, but he's like, your conversations, you just like, my big thing. And he found it, I think, like disrespectful. And I don't know why. I tried to be now. I promise if he hears this, but like he would be talking and I would just walk off. And now I see it like our momager does it. And I'm like, oh my God, I've done that for years. Like I can't figure out why, but it's because I guess I'm not listening properly most of the time. I'm hearing you, but I'm not listening, but I'm already thinking of the next task or whatever. So tying it all up for me was like all of that. My children really, you know, I had to learn through them. And then, you know, once we started having our conversations that we were like, oh, well, yeah, you know, that's why I think what knowing made me feel not so much shame about the choices I made when I was younger, which a lot of it, you know, my guilt was like that with school. Like I didn't finish college, that I didn't, there was so much things I carried because I felt less than, and I was like, well, how could I have even managed it? And then there was no way to know. I needed a little more help.
Yeah.
And now that I've learned, you know, it's still a everyday job that I've got to learn how to manage myself with my brain and accepting of it, you know. And I do now. I love the hyper focus. I do love because I know that I can get it done when I need to get it done. But man, I'm easily distracted.
I know.
Same. It's just
and it affects your self-confidence.
Yeah.
And I think as parents, as women, right, we want to be so perfect. We want to, right, and be able to manage it all. But when you have ADHD, it does make it a little bit more difficult. And if you've grown with that and you were not diagnosed, it affects your self-confidence because you're like, why am I like, why? I try to be organized, or I, you know, it's not that you're lazy. It's just that's the way your brain works. But just like it has some, possibly, I guess, so those are cons. It's got a lot of, you know, pluses too. There's a lot of benefits to it. And I think it's, especially if we have kids, it's important to get them diagnosed. It's important even as an adult that if you are having, again, symptoms, it's important to get that diagnosed because women that do have ADHD are actually 3 times more likely to experience anxiety.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what was happening to me. I didn't really ever have anxiety before, but I hit a certain age. I was like, I used to be able to handle all this, and now it's not like I'm handling more, but I was experiencing a lot more anxiety. And so if you are undiagnosed, you're going to experience more anxiety. 50% of women actually have or a combination that they get depression as well. So it's so important, again, to get that diagnosis, to go somewhere good, and getting your children diagnosed. I, unfortunately, didn't realize it when my daughter was smaller. I remember her asking me something about ADHD, and I made some, because I have ADHD, probably, you know, some uneducated like comment of, I don't even know what I said. And I almost like brushed it off. And I wish I hadn't. I wish I would have like had just looked it up, or, you know, actually may had a more educated conversation with her about it. So, you know, that's something to definitely keep in mind.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, you learned. Yeah. So with my youngest, so we didn't, my son, my oldest didn't get the best of it. We had to go through a lot of, you know, I would call it learning curve with him because he was older, and through him we were able to find out that ADHD, if you are not diagnosed or manage it, I mean, the statistics are so high that you will have some kind of substance abuse disorder. You will have some other mental health disorder come in because the way your brain is. So the people don't realize that it's really like chemical, right? It's not your brain. The brain is not how it needs to be. Like you need certain things in order for it to work, the executive function. So that too came with acceptance for me, because I remember thinking, I don't want him to take anything because God forbid, you know, whenever you hear Adderall, whatever, they're going to be, you know, these people. But I think it would have definitely helped him. Like now with my youngest, like tools that I found with her, obviously she was so young and we caught it so early. So we got her before one of the summers before school started. She went to, there's a lot of places here that are great in Houston. Again, we have privilege that we're able to do this because insurance doesn't cover this. I mean, I think they can, but it's very hard. But she went to like executive function coaching, and then
love
they
that.
do like these little camps where they go for like she was gonna go into middle school, so I was like, oh my god, I need her to help whatever she needs. So she went there. She loved it. They gave her things like the so they should call it the Pomodoro, like they use the timers. Then we signed up with like an executive function coach that she met with, that every Monday she did Zoom with her, and they went over her week and her assignments, her tasks. And that kind of helped her
I
build
need that.
accountability. No, we all do. And so that she did that for 2 years. And so she managed eighth grade. Then she got support at school because she got, they had learning specialists at her school. So she got like an hour where she got to go in. And then the teachers, we obviously asked for extended time. So by the time she got now to high school, and she's in like a competitive high school, and she hasn't really needed to do because she's got it already. I need a I mean, it's not perfect, you know, that she can, it could also happen that she will lose track. But for her executive function, which for her job, we'll call it, is school, she knows kind of, she's got things in support to get her okay. And I've been very loving of ADHD with my children. So I have devoted that since to make sure that they know that this is nothing, you know, that can't be. It's just part of life, and we can figure it out. So I think that made a big difference in my household, where it's just, you know,
I love
this
that
is
you
how
did
we
that.
are, and we're just gonna figure it out. We'll figure it out. Nothing, you know,
Yeah.
it's nothing that's gonna stop us from not. Now I won't lie that there's things that sometimes with her, 'cause she's older and she's very like now driven, and has all these attributes that you wouldn't think with ADHD, but I get afraid. Remember, I've told you that I'm like, is she overcommitting to too many things? I don't want her to stress her brain out. That's always my worry.
Yeah.
Because if she has too much pressure, which I don't like to put pressure on them, maybe that's my problem. But
don't want them to
I
fail,
don't
but
want her. Yes, I don't want her to feel like because or have be hindered because she thinks ADHD. You don't think I can do it because I think sometimes she does take that a little bit because I'm so wanting to be careful about it. So I mean, it's something I've had to learn. I think for both of us learning, it's part of the learning to focus on how to manage both how we live and then how we are doing with our job as mothers, and life.
And all you can do is give them the tools, right? And I think it's about having, wherever you are in life, whether you have ADHD or not, or you have a certain position, it's, do you have the right tools to support you?
Yeah.
And not everybody can, right? Like get an executive coach, but TikTok, ChatGPT, right? Asking exactly like how you can support, let's say if you are trying to help your child or even yourself, cognitive behavioral therapy, how would you, help tools for ADHD? And then, of course, the most important part, implementing that.
Yes.
Right? Because I think there's so many different things, and if you have ADHD, it can get really confusing.
Oh, that's a thing too that I remember. Well, the too many choices. Like I'm always like, is there something better? Like, you see something and then you're like, but let me find out if there's more. Like what that I think is a big thing I do, and it's the way my brain works, because I should just be like, okay, you did enough. There's enough research. You don't need to go look for like 1,000 varieties to confirm what you saw at the beginning, right? So I'm working on that a lot. I don't like, I've tried medication. I actually do really well on it. I feel like the commercial for Claritin, like my brain and my vision even gets clearer. That's kind of scary. But then my heart, because I have the blood pressure stuff, then it gets kind of wonky. So I'm always scared. My therapist, the psychiatrist, he's like, well, you can just take it on your work days. And when I take it, man, I'm like, wow, literally even my vision is clear.
Yeah.
And, I can do it all. But then I feel like I kind of at the end of the day, I'm like, I have no feeling. So I don't like it. No, because that's what it is. It's because you have like that I don't know, for me, I don't have a lot of friends that take medication, but people are like, no, it doesn't really do all that. I'm like, no, it really does. I'm good, but then in the after, and then I have a high, it doesn't metabolize fast enough. So remember, I told you it lasts about 16 hours.
Yeah.
Even if I take it at 7 a.m., I'm like in the middle of the night still sitting there like a crack. Just, looking around.
So like, what is happening?
So I try to limit it only when I know I'm going to have those heavy days that I'm like, oh, I've got to be out for admin, for executive function. I need to be, I need to focus. So I do that. But tell me, I love, so I've realized with us, like, I mean, for decades, I've seen you since we started our adult life, but you always had lists.
Oh, God, yes.
I felt like you were so organized.
I do. I have my list, but it's so frustrating when you like freaking don't get
to the list.
the list done, right?
Oh.
And then it's like, then I would always add the task to the next day. And then all of a sudden you have this like unrealistic list of all these things you have to do.
Oh no.
Because it was always task related. So I've always been in the field, like ever since I graduated college, pharmaceutical sales and then medical sales. And there was a period where I was helping a doctor and I was in there for like a week to 2 weeks. I literally would cry because I realized I can't be I cannot do
that's right, that's right, I remember.
an office like sitting at a
Yes,
desk.
yes, yeah.
And so I take medication and I take it when I have to do a task that I really don't like. So any admin, emails, financial stuff, like I don't want to deal with any
Yes,
of that. And but if I'm engaging with people, I'm great. I can listen. I'm sure I trail off sometimes, but it's that difficult work of any paperwork, organizing files. Y'all, if y'all saw my office, it's
Oh no,
I'm gonna work on
want to
that.
even look in my closet.
One day I'm going to do a before and
Oh,
after
no.
because I'm about to
And that
revamp
that
this.
too, I remember finding that out last year, and I saw that it said about people that have like messy closets and all that stuff. That that's a sign of it. And that's been my whole life, right? I've lived it that way, and I
But
never.
why is it the closet? Is because it's hidden. and
But
so
see,
we're, like,
I'm very
hiding?
organized. Yes, it's hiding. It's still hiding something. And then I do it, and I feel so proud. I always send you pictures, and then it doesn't last. It looks like a freaking tornado went in there, and I'm okay with it. I'm not so hard on myself as I used to be. So that I feel I've got my tools that really help is the lists, and then a calendar. Can't live without a calendar now.
Oh
Again,
yeah, I
it's
just
like-
got my paper. I should have.
because
told y'all.
it just that's the way I organize my days. What else? I think that's really it. Like I just when I need the medication, I have to take it because I gotta get things done. But and a lot of more, I'm listening now. Maybe because I'm getting older, so I'm having to like stop and let people tell me and talk,
Yeah.
and then I'll have my input. And I think that's like that's a little bit of a pause that's kind of helped me to not be so reactive. That was a big thing too. You don't realize that's the emotional
regulational-
you have no regulation, and then and you're impulsive. And I mean, because we made some decisions that were just like, yeah,
Probably not
you
the
did
best
not, you
decisions.
would not. No, they're not PG.
They were fun,
So,
but probably not the best decisions.
Yes, and those come from that because you're not regulated.
Yeah.
So you're not even thinking of you don't know what consequences or things would it
Two
amount to.
impulsive ADHD
Steve
best
used
friends
it
at
together.
15. It was.
But here it leads you to build a podcast together, and you have a great time. So learning and finding, like Paula mentions, go look it up. Go look up stuff. There's so much information right now. I mean, don't get saturated with it either.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, find that
if you're
line.
noticing that these
Yeah.
things are like that, you're like, wow, I'm way more emotionally dysregulated than I used to be. I can't handle the stresses the way I used to. For a minute, I thought it was perimenopause. I'm sure that had a factor
Yeah.
too.
And that is,
but it was
that makes it
ADHD. Once I got that under control, it helped a lot.
to
Like the rest of my life when I use the techniques, when I use like the tools
yeah
that I have.
implementing.
Yes.
So and
Absolutely.
that's again, it's like an ongoing thing, just like anything else that's related to our mental health. It's the same, and reaching out and and talking about it, finding community. You find and accepting yourself, and you end up finding people that are like, oh, yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think this is my theory. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a therapist. Don't, it's not mental advice, but I feel like this is my ADHD theory. It's right. Attention deficit. No,
Yeah. Just
now I can't remember.
hyperactivity.
Yeah. ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder.
Yes.
And I think that disorder part for me made me feel broken. It made me feel like, well, shit, there's something wrong with me because I have this disorder. So first, I feel like they should rename it, but
Yes, yeah.
I don't feel like it's a disorder, right? I think it wouldn't make sense that everybody's brain would work the same to me, right? If everybody's brain worked the same, then there would be a lot of things that didn't get created, and I think it would be extremely boring.
Yes.
So I think there's a lot of us that have, again, ADHD, but it makes us more creative. It makes us, maybe more impulsive, but I think there's so much good that comes with that. And I've learned to embrace it. And I think, again, when we talk so much about self-love, if you can just love yourself exactly as you are with all the flaws, if you see that as a flaw, but just you accept it. And I think it's that self-acceptance.
Yeah.
And it goes a long way. And then you can tackle it. But the first step is definitely getting that diagnosis.
Yeah. And then, I mean, I was just, as I'm listening to you, of course, my brain's kicking in because I was like, oh, what do I feel like it helps me with? I am an amazing problem solver. I will
Yes.
see outside of the box and I will figure it out. I can give you a strategy. There's things that, and my brain will figure it like quickly.
For
You know?
business, that's why so many business
Yes,
owners and
entrepreneurs and anybody that is successful, go look it up. It is proven because the brain has to be, able to, I don't know, take many things on. I don't know,
Yeah.
and then see, because you can see it. I can see outside of the box, right? Maybe too with experience, but now I can see that as something good. Before I might have felt that I said it was too many things, but I love learning about everything. Like, I love, like, same with music. I love everything. And those are things I'm grateful for. I would hate to just be like in this box where it's like, I'm, this person the same as everything. I don't know. I'm not going to call it boring, but,
Yeah.
I feel like we can add a little bit of
If we
fun
can
in
all
life.
be different and think differently, and I think that makes it just a better experience for everyone.
Yeah.
So about the tools, and I love that you shared, especially what she's learned in the executive function, because
Yeah.
again, that's super cool. And I know I've used
Yeah.
some of the things that you've told me. For me, it was body doubling. So
I
my
like
therapist
how
was
you
like,
said.
"Oh, body double," or they call it mirroring. And if you haven't tried this, it's called Focus Mate. So FOCUSMATE. And it's free unless you want to use it like all the time. But it's really cool. It's this app, and it's a little weird. But you go on and you sign up, and then they have where you could do, I can't remember how many sessions per month, but you can book like an hour session with somebody. And you can, like, you go on, you see all these people that are on the calendar, and you could just click, hey, I'm able to do this at 8 a.m. And you get on, and you can see this other person. You don't know them, which is a little bit of the weird part, but you tell that person your intention to begin with. It could be, hey, I'm going to clear out my emails, or even I'm going to clean, or I'm going to bulk cook, whatever it is. And they're going to tell you, hey, over this next hour, this is what I want to do. Then you can turn off your camera, you mute yourself, and you sit there and you get your shit done.
Oh my gosh.
Right?
Yeah.
But you have to be accountable. Don't book it and then be like off on the phone. Don't take any phone calls. Like, just, focus.
Don't wander off.
Yeah, don't trail off. And that helps immensely. And then you have the accountability at the end, right? A little timer goes off, and you unmute, and you're like, okay, great. How did you do? How much did you get done? And you're honest. There's been times I have done it. I'm like, oh, I got a phone call, and I only got 30 minutes of this work done that I wanted.
Yeah.
That is wonderful. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, I know you do. You've told me about it before, yes.
The other thing is the sticky notes. And I know, 'cause again, I used to do my list, but if you do a sticky note, and I have this, I don't know if I've showed you, I should bring it in. It's a huge white poster board, the ones you get at Walgreens. And then I write all my stickies, all like to-dos, one on each sticky note. And then I categorize it. I'm like, these are my personal, cool. These are like, admin tasks for finances, great. This is, the Lulu Magic stuff. Because then you can group it. And then you set your timer, right, for the Pomodoro technique. Yeah. You set it for, let's say, 30 minutes, and you take a 5-minute break, or you can set it for 45 minutes or an hour, but take a little break, and then you reset it. And all those little grouped activities, you just start to knock them off. And I tell you, it feels amazing. As you pull that sticky off, you crumble it, you throw it in the trash. And I'm just like,
yeah, it sounds delightful.
It's amazing.
Like, yeah, because I mean, you're seeing it as you're doing it.
To me, those are the two biggest like things that I've done. Yeah, I would say those. And then getting out in nature. I don't know why I feel like, and I can't remember.
Calming your body too.
Yeah.
And we don't realize that
for ADHD
because you're calming the body. Yeah, it helps with the emotional regulation. Like for me, if I have an exercise, I keep repeating that, but it's like if I have like, okay, so yeah, me structure. I need structure. I need structure. I need structure. And much as I love to say I'm like want to be the spontaneous person, that can happen sporadically. But I need the structure. I need routine. I need my days to look the same. I probably need to have the same meals over and over, and I do so much better. And exercise and moving your body. It's because you're moving your body, so the body's kind of not in that hyper like whatever moment. And it kind of it's been proven by everybody like. What walking, just the act of walking, what it does for us. Yeah. So the brain probably calms down. Because are you really like all over the place when you're walking? Are you thinking of a million things?
Still, yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Me, I so.
Unless I really try and I'm like, I'm just gonna breathe, and almost like a walking meditation.
And it feels weird when it gets quiet.
Yeah.
Like when it's not the multi-brain.
Oh, the multi-chatter.
The multi-chatter, yeah. I don't feel like I have it a lot here. I'm kind of always surprised. Like I'm always here. Like I can talk and then maybe think of something else, but I'm not like,
Thinking
I
ahead
will
of.
be like doing stuff on the computer and I'm already like 10 things are there.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to go do them. And then this is the thing that I find too that's kind of funny. I'll do like in the kitchen, like I'm like trying to set the coffee and then I open the drawer because I'm going to load the dishwasher and then I'm looking at the refrigerator while I'm thinking of picking up whatever's in that corner. And I'm like, please stop. Like, I just want to like do, and I have to tell myself in my, like, go do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like, don't keep going this way. Because it's not good.
For sure.
For my
Yeah.
brain,
That
like, and it stresses me out in the sense of that I feel like I'm like, that's not really accomplishing. So, I mean, when I find order and structure, I do really good.
Yeah.
Is what it is.
It's so crazy. I love organization and I'm so unorganized. It's like so frustrating. I tell you that all the time.
Yes, I know.
And I've come to the conclusion, like I used to tell my therapist, I'm like, once I can get I'm going to be like so happy. And she was like, wait, like, when do you think this is going to happen? And I've realized,
Bigger.
yeah, I can just do what I can do. The other thing I do is I set 5 or 10-minute timers and you'd be surprised what you can accomplish. No music, no Netflix. Like, let's say I'm going to say, I'm just going to set the timer for 10 minutes and I'm going to like tidy up my closet. And I don't go over that. I'm just like, let's just do 10 minutes a day in whatever section, or even like at night, I do the kitchen to like, I'm going to load the dishwasher. But I zone in and I'm like, and I go crazy. Like, it's like, I move really fast. I'm like, I'm just going to get as much done as I can.
In the 10 minutes.
In the 10 minutes.
Oh, that sounds good. I might try that.
I can clean my whole kitchen.
In 10
like,
minutes?
get all the dishes in the dishwasher. Tidy up everything and it looks great, and then in the morning I can wake up and I'm not like
so I do yes I do organize spaces, but I don't like my closet. No, you don't want to look. Nobody wants to.
I should tell everybody the closet story. I'll tell you guys real quick. This is asking for help also. So I told my husband that I was like, hey, I need more help like with the house, like I'm just I'm doing the Lulu Magic now, I'm working, kids. And it was funny because, and I said, I don't know when I got this role of like, I have to do the laundry, the dishes, and I am Hispanic and I kind of was raised that way. And I just never thought to have the conversation of what our roles are. I think it was just assumed and I just started doing it. And of course, who's going to be like, no, I want to help you with all, or maybe some people would, but he was fine and, working, doing his thing. And it was funny because he was like, I didn't know you mind? I thought you kind of like to cook and like tidy up. I'm like, who wants to cook and tidy up all the time? So I come home from a podcast one day and the kitchen is impeccable. He cleaned the whole kitchen and he cleaned my closet, which at the time, embarrassingly to say, had clothes all over. It was like you would see a teenager, like this is not should not be an adult. Like I don't know who else has it this way, and I kind of would take some comfort in finding that other women, like it was like covered in clothes. It was bad.
Yes, yeah.
And he put up all the clothes, and I thought he hung up all the clothes, and I was like, this is so amazing. I did a video. I told everybody. I still give him like kudos, but like a week later, I go into his closet, and there's like these dirty hampers with clothes in them, and I was like, oh, maybe, or like these hampers with clothes and not dirty hampers, and I was like, oh, maybe these are like either I asked him, are these dirty or are these close to fold? And he was like, you weren't supposed to see that. I was like, why? And he's like, those were all the clothes you had on the floor. I didn't have time to hang them. It was so much. He's like, I just threw them in there. And I was like, I laughed so it was like so funny.
Yeah.
But I was still like, it was great, just grateful to like have
it clean.
Oh
my gosh, yeah.
Then of course I went through it, washed and
I
did
got
everything.
a bench in my closet. We share obviously with my husband, and it's a bench, and it's like it stays like 4 times a year to clean, and then it's just like I don't know what it is. It's got to be like my workout clothes. Like I never feel like, is this really dirty? I don't know what that is. It's like I know I need to put it in like
a place,
but I'm not gonna take the time to put it in the hangers. And then I'll go through my 4 times a year where I'm like massive and I'm like, I don't need all of this. I could just fix it. And we just moved into this house. Remember I told you this was not going to happen again. It has happened again. I am terrified. I've said to myself this summer, I'm going to dedicate Sundays to like purging. This past Sunday, I was like, the fuck I'm not. That is not who I am.
We should do a body
is
double.
not.
We start messing. We don't do
No,
anything. We just start
no,
talking.
because then I get mad because I'm like, why do I have to be the one to do it? Why doesn't nobody get bothered by all of this? But it doesn't bother anybody because they all live in their own space.
Oh, isn't it
and
your
that's only
clothes?
mine. No, it's just saying in general. There's a lot of stuff
all
everywhere, and it bothers me when I see it. So
I
it
just
starts
close
with
my
a
door.
closet of what I'm telling you.
Yeah.
No, I see it every day.
Yeah.
Like every single day. And I'm like, I really need to get to that. And then I starts to like the clothes start going down. I'm like, where is this? Where is that? Like right now, because I swap out my clothes because I have to put some in I put sweaters and all that away because the closet doesn't. It's a pretty big closet, but still, that tells you a lot. And now I'm like, where is those? I'm like, oh, probably somewhere in there.
I need somebody to come help me purge because I won't get rid of it.
But
I don't know.
Would you be like hands off?
Well, I mean,
Are you gonna be sentimental? Like I don't know.
and then that stuff comes back, and I'm like, I just got rid of whatever. Like,
So I
let's
just
say
told you.
some wide legged, and I'm like,
You go buy more.
yeah.
That's because I'm like, I said I wasn't gonna do this, and now I'm like, how did this happen? I'm looking at like stuff and like cabinets and things. I'm like I should. Why is there so much shit? Because
I don't know if it's cute anymore.
Because I won't look for it.
Yeah.
But that's not right. Like I have stopped that too. That I didn't think about that too. That you were just like, oh, I don't want to even look for it, so I'll just have multiples of whatever for the kids, like multiple packs of note cards and things. And at the end of the school year, I would always find. I'm like, why can't I just be organized? I just could be
I
organized.
need labels. I need somebody. I just want my whole house labeled. I want to be crazy.
We did the pantry and we organize it and all that doesn't last. And then the kids, I think, are just so used to me being like, I don't know. I think sometimes they feel like it's fine. And
Yeah.
I feel like I turned out okay, like as far as being organized, but I'm not with my personal, like obviously you get to my bathroom, my closet, and it does not look like the rest of the house. It's okay.
So see,
Yes.
you're all normal.
nice
If you
packs
go
of
through
books.
this, we're telling all our like dirty our secrets, our like stuff we don't tell anybody.
Yes. And then I have stacks and stacks of books, guys. That's a big one.
Yeah.
And then I'll open and read some, and then I don't finish them, and it's like a little addiction probably
Yeah.
because then I end up on social media right now for work.
For Delulu Magic.
For
That's
Delulu
why we
Magic.
do that.
So anyway, any last tips you want to give to everybody?
No, I
Oliver?
think the other two things that I just wanted to mention that people, especially women with ADHD, is hyper focus on people pleasing, which I did not know.
Oh.
I was like, well, that makes sense. Maybe that makes sense. It made me feel better at least. I'm like, why was I such a people pleaser? And I would, and I didn't like that quality about myself.
Yeah.
Right? So now I accept it a little bit more because I'm like, oh, maybe that's because I have ADHD. And then the masking, the fact that we actually work harder to mask that we are a little unorganized or a little quote unquote lazy, or you can't, I can't focus. And so these are things that, again, that women will see. So just taking that compassion, if you do these kinds of things, people pleasing, you come down on yourself, it's okay that, we're all normal and we're all just trying to do the best we can and embracing certain tools. So that's all for our ADHD talk today.
So remember, guys, nothing changes unless you do.
So stay Delulu and make it happen. Don't forget to subscribe and like. Thank you so much. We appreciate you.
See you next time.
Bye.